Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the last day of August, August 31st, 2022. S&P closed at 39.59. That was the low of the whole move following the shall we say, the scolding of the bulls by Powell in the Jackson Hole meeting. Today we have Stephen Kalayjian and Paul Hornblower, really great long-term traders, here to just shoot the breeze about whatever we want to talk about. And today, and most recently, the market's been very whippy, illiquid, right? It's last week of August. You could say that, you know, in the old days, we would say that everybody important is on vacation, but as we know, it's not always that case. Paul has been on the road, so he's actually in his car. Stephen had a great day trading today, and I happened to watch a bunch of it, and it was great. How is it? How are you holding up there, Stephen? You must be.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, volatility is here, you know, and you know, going on my 40th year, you know, you're just used to this, though. You know, it just comes with the territory. This is what everybody wants. You want volatility. You don't want, you know, just like nothing. You know, you just want to pull your hair out of your head.
It's to everybody who's not actively participating and maybe watching this at a later time. The S&Ps are running 10 to 15 handles pretty quickly within what, 30 seconds, a minute, Stephen, something like that.
Sometimes, I mean, just, you know, you blink and they run 18 on you,
and then
and they drop 10. You know, it's just crazy. I mean, you got to have your hand on the mouse. You know,
we've had 4 solid days of nonstop distribution of the longs having to get out. Any hope of a bottom in here, Stephen, at all?
Well, I'm getting a buy divergence here on the weekly charts. You know, I think I'm hoping we get maybe a push up here, 60 to 80, 90 handles. But anything that you're going to get here, if you look at the step down, it's just nothing but lower highs. And we got up to that 43.27 when, you know, they just ran them like they were just wanted them. I might shake in my head because, you know, bear market rallies are more vicious than bull market rallies, like I always tell you, and the short covering rally just fueled it. And, you know, I thought it was one of the most perfect shorting opportunities. We were 190 handles from the moving average on the daily charts and before big gaps below the market. I saw.
Right. So time out. We were higher. We were above the moving averages by 100.
Yeah.
Handles, yeah. Right. Yeah.
About 190.
Yeah.
On the daily. And I just said, this is anything north of 70s a lot. We were 190. And then we dropped, you know, 400 points on the S&P. And it was all because of that CPI number that came in 0.2 better than expected, from 8.7 to 8.5. They thought inflation was, you know, probably coming down, and they ran them. And when they ran them, just a little run, what happens to the shorts? They just go absolutely bonkers. They got to cover.
Do you think that the Fed is pissed that Biden just did an executive order to bail out all the student loan? I mean, apparently that by dollar volume, that's the hugest number as an executive order. Is this the Fed teaching Elizabeth Warren a lesson?
I just think that the Federal Reserve has no idea what they're doing.
Wait a minute. How would it be teaching Elizabeth Warren a lesson? It would be right out of her playbook. Well,
she was the one who was rooting for the student debt to be, you know, absorbed by that, you know, my body, my choice, my tuition, your responsibility.
Well, how is that going to happen mechanically?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just wondering. My question is this: is the Fed upset that they're on the hook for price stability, and here is the largest executive order, but isn't it in a sense vote buying?
Yeah, exactly what he's doing. He's trying to give every student who owes $10,000, you know, $10,000, like a reprieve. But if you really want a reprieve for these people, well, you have, instead of take down the interest rate down to like 2%. Why are you charging these kids 11.5%? If you do something right. Let them have affordability to pay back the loan, right? I mean, the bottom line is you chose to take out that loan. You want to go to, I'm just giving you an example. You want to go to University of Michigan and pay $70,000 a year when you can get the same education in your backyard for maybe, I know kids who can't afford things and they have no student loans over their heads and they went to community colleges and they did online studying and they did it right. A lot of these kids now, I know a kid has $130,000 in University of Colorado, right? He's still paying it down. He's driving an Uber at night. He'll be paying it off till he's 38, 39 years old. I mean, it's ludicrous. Take down the interest rate if you're going to do anything there.
Paul, what do you think?
He didn't get the payback, the 10,000. He wasn't entitled.
I don't know if he got it yet. I don't know. It hasn't been approved yet, right?
I thought it was from top down at fiat. It doesn't have to be. It's an executive order, I thought.
Yeah, it is an executive order. It can be challenged in court, apparently. But I mean, if you're the Fed, I mean, to everybody watching, in private, all of us will call the Fed criminals, not in public on camera here.
No.
But and of course, it's very easy to be called a tinfoil hat person or a conspiracy theorist in public. But as we've all seen as traders for 40 years, and I'm friends with people at the CFTC who, when they go to the New York Fed meetings in the New York Fed building here, they're told to sit in the corner and shut up. And when I ask, why aren't you guys going after those guys who are trading in front of information? They say that they're afraid for their careers. Off the record, they say that. So this is a very touchy conversation to have among three people, especially on camera. But Paul, do you think that the Fed here is backing away from the PPT, so to speak, or the Fed is backing away from supporting the market because the legislative branch is trying to buy votes?
Well, they were said to be talking it down. So yeah, I would say if ever there would be a time when the PPT would take a little bit more askance view. But I wanted to mention that something came to mind when Janet Yellen was chair. She was told, I can't remember whether it was because they were loosening too slowly or appearing to tighten or something, but she was very sharp to answer the senator questioning her, to say, and she said it with a real edge, which is interesting considering that she became Treasury. She said, if you would only do your job. She was very sharp about it. I'm very critical about the lack of any kind of responsibility that she could perceive, and the position that she was being put in.
Stephen, do you think the Fed matters more, or do you think the legislative branch matters more?
I think that it's a combination. I think that, the Federal Reserve really can't do their job because they're always looking over their shoulder. They're worried about asset prices, and a lot of these pension funds right now are underfunded right now, right? Because we took this monster hit. So they're caught here. And they, for years and years and years, we were at 0% interest rates. And I remember, I keep saying this in the channel all the time. I remember when the Dow hit 10,000, 10,005, Fed funds were 4.5%, 5%, right? You had a market that now more than tripled, right? 37, 38,000. And you're still at 0% almost 6-7 months ago. I mean, 30-year mortgages were 2.5%, right? And I'm saying this is insanity. And then they jump up and down like a bunch of baboons and say that, again, that their main objective is 2% target of inflation, anything north of that. And what do, they wait till it gets to 8.5%, 9%. And because they knew that if they acted, that their philosophy was to try to keep asset prices as high as possible to offset the inflation, right? And that didn't work. And had they done their job and they tried to do, a half a point here, a quarter point here, a half a point here, a quarter point here. Now they're going to come in October to look at another 3 quarters. You're going to just stall the economy out. You're going to cause a gigantic problem here. Housing, retail. You're going to they don't know. These people, I can't say the word criminals. I think they're just completely don't know what they're doing. I just never seen people like this though. I just don't understand how these academic people have the power that they have, when it's just so evident someone who has 11 credits to his name in college, me, has more common sense than what these hooples have.
Paul,
You don't think that they're told what to do? Because I would think
100%.
common sense would say that it's kind of out of their hands, because it sort of comes from Congress, executive Congress through them, and they don't really have a say. I think they try to put the academic perspective on it, but I find it hard to believe that they would really have the power.
and then
I think you're right, though. I think that they're probably told what to do behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then, Stephen, what about the idea that there's so much leverage in the system, right? They've encouraged everybody to lever up just to keep up with inflation, and they can't produce a balance sheet in case there's a margin call because there's not enough cash in the system for all the derivative exposure.
Oh, figure you want to talk about that, you might as well start drinking. Forget it.
I am drinking.
Yeah, I'm saying that these with their balance sheet is off the charts. I don't even know if there's enough money in the world what they have in their balance sheets.
Right. Well, right. Even the margin. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But the idea is that here comes November. They're not going to tighten. They're not. How's this? They're not going to blow out the balance sheet they're not going to tighten the balance sheet in a meaningful fashion coming into November.
I don't even know. Right now the Fed funds rates is showing that they're going to raise 3/4 in October. I don't even know if they're going to do that going into an election 3 weeks before the election.
Well, hey, what fucks the Fed more? Sorry, pardon my language. What screws the Fed more? If we rally like Zimbabwe, or if we just sit here at 4,000?
If I think if we sit here.
Okay, Paul, what do you think?
What hurts the Fed more? Is that?
Yeah, what puts the Fed in a more difficult position? Like, essentially, if the market calls the Fed's bluff and they're like, wait a minute, inflation, and you see the press, right? The Goldman came out today and said UK inflation for next year or the winter is going to be 22%, things like that, right? Eventually, don't stocks have to catch fire?
Because of the flight to
Well, flight to the dollar.
the flight to the falsely supported the wheels on the wagon, and so therefore they have to park, and so that would be the Zimbabwe argument.
Right. I mean, and essentially that's what I'm saying. Is Zimbabwe, is it possible? Stephen, are you familiar with Zimbabwe?
I heard of the country, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Paul will explain it. Paul?
Well, not only did they crash their currency, but their economy, this was unusual in the year, it was like 2007, their currency went to 1/10,000th of what it was worth, but their stock market went up 2,500% when everyone else crashed. So it's just to say that if our economy is still able to function in some form, and we also got a lot of flight from Europe, then why wouldn't they keep the economy moving by encouraging the flight into equity?
Do you follow, Stephen? In other
Yeah,
words,
I mean, if that happened. I don't think it's going to happen here, though.
well, that's what we're saying. It's because it's not happening in gold. It's certainly not happening in Bitcoin, and the dollar's strong. And so the dollar's strong. So it's like the worst dirty shirt. And if the only thing you can buy that supposedly will keep up with inflation, because the Fed has shown that it's not really interested in matching what the real rates are. So they're willing to tolerate inflation. So that leaves the question, and they're willing, they're not really worried about the balance sheet, which leaves the question, are they willing to double the balance sheet or triple the balance sheet? And then we also understand that it's cheaper to keep them up here than it is to bail them out again. 2008 was expensive. It took 10 years of QE to get us back, to normal markets.
I thought they're going to stop this month for purchasing assets. I read.
Right, but you still have that. You still have all that cash in the system, Like Stephen, what's changed? All the cash is still in the system, right?
Well, I thought they were selling things along the way here.
Yeah, they're selling, it's like 80 billion a month, and they've got 8.5 trillion. How many years does that take?
Oh, they still have 8.5 trillion after they sold after the last.
Yes, they still have 8.4 or something, right? They have over 8 trillion, and they're getting rid of 80 billion a month.
Well, that's like $1 trillion a year.
And so that's 8 years.
But
Right,
they've
so-
been doing it. They've been doing it since 15, right?
Right, but I mean, think about it as a percentage. Like, it's still GDP is growing, right? The economy's still growing, and it's growing at a fast rate, and that money's still in the system. Yet stocks are down what percent from the highs? 15%.
Well, if 4,800 to 3,900,
20%. Yeah.
20%.
Okay, so the money's still there. The money's still there, and
A
the
lot on the
economy.
side, a lot sidelined,
Okay.
and it's about multiples.
Right. I mean, I get PEs are negotiable, right? We've understood that for years, right? Like historical PEs with a GDP under something like 3% is the PE normally, I mean, in old days was a single digit number.
Mhm.
We haven't seen normal PEs in regards to that equation for at least a decade.
What is it now?
17, 18, Stephen, something like that? 19?
He's 19.
Yeah, 19. And so, but I mean, so the money's still in the system. That's where I'm thinking of, like, wait a minute, the Fed still got the balance sheet there. They're paying lip service to tightening, but the money's still in the system. The GDP is still smoking. The unemployment's still really low, and stocks are lower. I mean, I'm not arguing for a melt-up rally, but I'm just saying that. And that's the Zimbabwe argument that Paul and I are talking about, is that, where has the money gone, Paul?
Well, aside from the sideline, it's still in the market. I mean, all the long only is, I think, mostly still there, aren't they?
Right.
There's been no capitulation.
Stephen, why do the metals act so bad?
Dollar strong, dollar strength.
Yeah. Paul, what do you think? Paul, are you still in the silver?
I'd rather not talk about it.
Sorry. Stephen,
Sore
any idea?
subject. I'm trying to spare you the reality.
Oh, so many people are always, they're with you, right? Everybody, I mean, you can't buy Bitcoin, or you haven't been able to buy Bitcoin, can't buy silver, can't buy gold. Stephen, what are you buying? Where do you keep your money?
Well, I mean, I trade whenever I see extremes, and I use the triple leverage, like the SPXUs or the TQs or the SQQQs, or any of those. I just wait for extremes in the market and I just trade them.
Are you long any real estate?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I actually bought a lot of things before COVID, so that's pretty good.
Cool. And then Paul, you're looking to buy into the dip in real estate, right?
Yeah, but I'm also, in terms of metals, I was anticipating pressure. I still am, political pressure coming from those that don't necessarily choose to be long only in equities, and so that there would be just too much for them to suppress politically at a certain point. Although that presumes that there is that they're listening, or that they need to listen. And as I did read, which I didn't like to read, they said they would never, ever allow it not to be suppressed, essentially. Which is frightening to think of, especially.
Stephen, do you think that there is a plunge protection team, or no?
100%.
Right, me too.
Oh, God. You put me in charge of the Federal Reserve, I'll pay off this deficit in no time.
Right, why wouldn't they trade? They must trade. I mean, they were busted for trading their own account.
Come on.
What about
they're trading currencies, they're trading futures, they're trading stocks. Are you crazy?
What about the connection between the Fed and the big banks and metals, the degree to which they work together.
Oh my God. I know, I've heard stories from people that anytime gold gets a pop, they are just told to whack the hell out of gold.
Yeah, there's stories about Lewis, right, Paul? Wasn't it Lewis brought his sheets to the Fed in 2008?
No, worse, he brought them into his office.
And said, if you don't bail us out, you're going to own my sheets.
Well, I don't know what exactly he said, but it was more like, this is my situation. And he just gave them pressure, for want of a better word, I shouldn't even say it, but I mean, this is all public knowledge. I didn't hear it privately.
Stephen, this is Lewis Bacon.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, More Capital, who I worked with at Walter Frank. We started out together. He obviously did better than I did. And all of us, I guess.
But I was shocked that the Fed would ever be known to have gone into someone's office and basically accommodated. I just thought that was amazing.
Hey, Stephen, I know our game is short term, and because we can't predict anything, do you think the elections matter in regards to the markets?
Sure, absolutely.
Paul, do you think it matters?
The election?
Yeah.
You mean midterms, or are you talking the midterms?
Yeah, the midterms. The thing, right?
100%.
100%. What do you think? You think Republicans House, right? Isn't that what the call is? Republican House, and it's too close to call in the Senate. Is that right?
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say they will find a way to put Trump in jail for at least taxes, and then they'll and his base will let him go happily without a fight, without a whimper, and then they'll hopefully the right will put up somebody.
Stephen, do you think that the whole electrical shortage in the European market means anything?
I'm not really so sure on that.
It's like big dog with a big bark, but not really. Like it's happening. Like all this news is being discounted, or it's only, what is it? It's 90 degrees outside. And we're all worried for the winter.
I mean, I listen. I just in my Discord, I'm hearing people say who live in Europe that they're going to get in for a rude awakening between natural gas pricing, and that they're gonna get clobbered this winter in the UK. I mean, this is no joke. I mean, this inflation and these numbers have just come out of. I mean, look, oil's down what? Another 3% today. So we had that high at 135. Oil broke 90 again here.
Yeah.
Gasoline at 379 where I live now. I mean, that's only up from about, it's down from about 540. So what is this telling you? Commodity prices are coming down, right? So you may have stagflation here.
Yeah, the only thing I'm trying to think, like, what would be, using the Murphy's Law of trading, what would be the most difficult thing for what essentially, Paul, you've been trying to use logic in silver for how long now, right?
Well, I mean, it's just every time it cracks, think it can't, it must be near the production cost, and then it goes lower.
And then every time I try, like today, Stephen, you were saying all these times, like, can you imagine it just ran 20 handles on air? And then you're like, oh, it got 18 handles on a triple Lindy, and then it just reversed and went 25 handles the other way.
That was because he had the big selling balance on the close.
Yeah. And so
did the signal weight or the issues did it ever recover to when it made the big move, 30 handles? How high did the signal weight get?
It got up to 84, 83, 84.
Yeah, Paul's asking about the internals.
Oh, today?
Yeah, they never went positive.
They never went positive. Okay.
No, 47. No, they were positive this morning. They got as high.
That's right.
Yeah,
no, but I mean, in the rally, what did they get to? Because I wasn't looking.
You mean during the 9:30 session?
No,
47.
no, the 30 handle rally off the low.
Yeah, the one you
Oh,
called, Stephen.
that was a bi divergence. Yeah, it went from 56 to 80, 86 or something like that.
For everybody, for anybody who's watching at a later date, Stephen's talking about it was the low of a 4-day sell-off.
Yeah.
And Paul is asking if the bounce had any weight in regards to a broader participation in regards to the internals. Right, the advanced decline lines and such like that. Indexes are essentially comprised of all these separate issues, and so the internals are a relevant metric.
Did
Paul,
it ever get close to even on the day?
No, not at that point.
No.
Which made it a great sell opportunity.
Yes. Yes.
After that run. Did you get involved in that, Stephen?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Everybody in the Discord had it. Everybody in the live channel had it. Yeah.
Hey, Paul, can you tell us how you came up with scarification? Stephen, have you ever heard about this term Paul uses called scarification?
No.
Well,
No, you got it.
I just made it up. It's not a real word.
But it's a killer concept. Listen to Paul.
Well, it's not really a positive concept. It's just a result of years and decades of well, I hate to use the word, but I won't use the word. I'll think of another word of pain and suffering. And it's just the accumulated, well, it's what causes burnout. Basically, it's whatever accumulated suffering. But the good side is that it does give you a what's the word? Callous. It calluses your psyche, so that you maybe have more on any given day. You have more to sustain because ultimately you don't feel it. Others would say you're not supposed to feel anything, and that's easier said than done. I think maybe the accumulated pain comes to be the same thing. You just don't feel it.
In other words,
yeah.
Paul's saying in a way, Stephen, that since we can't be perfect on our entries, like you scale, right? And then you have to have the emotional armor or the courage or however you want to say the calculated probabilities on your side to sustain a move against you before it goes your way. And he calls that mental armor, that thick skinness of sustaining a loss. For example, on that triple Lindy late in the day, when Steve was trying to buy near the lows, there was a time for 5 or 10 minutes where the trade was against him. And so as people were buying them obviously into a down move with down momentum that was waning, and I was hoping that Paul would be able to explain to Stephen along the lines of, obviously, Stephen, you can't be perfect, right?
No.
And so, but we can be right, but the timing is sort of negotiable. Is that right? And so you scale in and to do that, you don't really necessarily feel it in an emotional or psychological fashion when you scale in. It's just the way you do business.
Yeah. You just trade it. That's how I do it. I've always done it that way.
And then in Paul's case, where we're and the rest of us, where we're like nervous or concerned that we're early, because that's just the way it is. It's much better to be early. And Paul just created that term to have that thick skin.
I also talk about cannonballing quite a bit, and I notice that Stephen, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would say you're neutral on whether you're a scale up seller when you're shorting, or whether you add to your sellers on the way down.
No, I never add on the way down. Once I have an established position, then you just, if it's going in your favor, you just lower your stops,
right?
Your stops, boom. I mean,
Hey,
you don't add to your winners.
No.
And hey, Stephen, are you a better buyer or a better seller?
I think I'm a better, well, no, I'm both good and great in both, though. Yeah, I mean, I know how to buy them. I know how to short them.
I'm a definitely, I mean, growing up on the floor, right? All the brokers were always buyers, so we naturally became better sellers, or that's what we led with. So we became better sellers. Did you see that on the floor, or you could just take? You were a taker, not a maker, or no? Right? You were a taker, not a maker.
When I was a floor broker, I just executed institutional orders. But when I traded my own money, it didn't make a difference. Execution is everything to me. I always was a limit order guy. I never believed in market orders. Well, that's not true. I had some programs where I was always running big, you know, couple million shares a day, market orders. I was sending, I would move the tape. You know, when I was, you know, I saw big sell programs about to hit the floor. I was, you know, one of the biggest bullet traders in the world, you know, and I was blasting bids like crazy.
Hey, Stephen, what would you tell somebody who's a better, you know, who only likes to lead from the short side?
Learn to trade them from the long side too. Markets don't go straight down.
I mean, but how do you teach somebody that?
You just got to tell them. You just can't. Look, I had a guy that started with me. He could not stand when the market went up. He had to borrow money from his father 3 times. I said, John, what are you doing? He goes, why are they going up? I go, John, who cares? I'm making money. You're losing money. I said, you're shorting everything. I don't understand why GM goes up. The worst company in the world. John, who cares? I just ran 3/8 of it, a half a point, 3/4 of a dollar, and you're short 10, 20, 30,000 shares. This guy could not understand why stocks went up.
Yeah, you hate Meta.
I hate them all. I mean,
you hate Meta, right? You hate Meta.
I hate Meta. I hate Twitter. I hate Boeing.
Right.
No, I don't know.
Right. You hate
a figure of speech, though. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Well,
it's a joke.
You always say they're going to zero.
No, I always say that. I said, no, I said, I hope they go. I hope
they go to zero. It's just from the way they act, right?
Just plus the personalities of the company.
Yeah. What is it? What's something that you refuse to trade because of the personality?
Oh, nothing. No.
Do you, like natural gas or something like that is so wild.
I used to trade natural gas futures, believe it or not, though.
Really?
They were pretty good to me.
And do you trade like junk penny stocks?
No, I would never go into that crap. No. A friend of mine is calling me up, telling me this guy's been touting me for the last year on this one symbol. It's the biggest short selling. There's more shares short in the world than there is, you know, on the balance sheet. And it's 500 million shares short, but the float's only 30 million, and the stock never goes anywhere. And it's on a pink sheet. He goes, buy yourself a couple million shares. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Hey, what was the show you watched on? Was it YouTube, where these guys were like, you know, saying they're billionaires and they're using Yahoo charts?
Oh, I don't know. I just saw like somebody sent me a link on a bunch of day traders shows and everything like that. And they're calling, you know, trades, and the guy lost 10 cents on a trade. And they're using, I think it was a Yahoo chart. So they had a split screen and I don't know. And they're teaching day trading and everything. And listen, to each his own. I don't know.
It was so funny. You're like, I flipped on this thing and you were saying stuff like, you know, to everybody watching, it's a very volatile marketplace. It's very difficult to trade, and it's not logical, and you need to have a sort of a.
Guy says, I bought something at 13. It's a breakout over here, and okay, but I'm selling it here at 12.90 now. I don't like the way it's acting. I mean, okay, just lost a dime. You know, like I'll buy more if it comes back into 12.5 range. I'm like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's not trading to me, you know.
Yeah, Stephen, what is it? It's correlations, divergences.
So the way I look at the markets are very simple. I look at trends, right?
Yep. From left to right.
No. Yeah, but a trend.
Right.
A trend is something like, for example, like obviously all the 4 ETFs are negative. If we gap down tomorrow and we stay down, that's a trending day.
Right.
It doesn't mean you can't have a buy and a sell divergences, right?
Right. Which is then, and that's predicated on momentum or MACDs?
No, that's just based upon the way the algorithms are written, you know, on, like I told you, 75% of the time I use indicators 1, 3, and 4. 25% of the time I use 4 indicators. So, so if you can have a trend up and or down, but you can still have buy and sell divergences. You can have a buy reversal,
Right,
With buy and sell divergences. You can have a sell reversal with
right,
buy and sell divergences. So
right.
that's how I
So
look at the market.
reversals are basically quick changing events
Events, right?
that catch people off sides.
Like, so today, for example, we had a big sell reversal on the diamonds,
Mhm.
right? The Dow. And once that did, they all four ETFs correlated. So I knew we were going to go lower.
So wait a minute, you said if you can master divergences, correlations,
If you can master the art of divergences,
this is
you
right.
can master the art of trading.
Yes. And then do you remember where we used to be correlated to the bonds? Stocks used to be correlated to the bonds, or we used to be
Oh, it
correlated.
used to be like the bonds go up, stocks go down. Stocks
Right.
go down, bonds go up.
Are
Those days are over.
correlations less important now?
That doesn't work anymore.
Right. Like you can take the intermarket correlation bullet point off your resume.
I mean, I used to trade currencies in the middle of the night, and the yens went tick by tick at the time with the S&P for like several months, and then poof, one day had a big had a big buy reversal on the S&P in the middle of the night, in the middle of the morning, and all the yens did nothing. I'm like, okay, it's over.
Hey, so if imagine I mean, people come to you and they don't know anything.
Mhm.
I mean, where do you start teaching these people?
You got to start from the beginning. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right? As though
I get like literally, I'm just sitting here and I just got a text from somebody who said, I'm getting crushed trading. Can you help me? And I'm getting crushed from the S&Ps. Please help me.
yeah, I get a lot of that. And you know, I mean, with what theory do you start? Do you just say, here
I
are the
gotta tell
moving?
them like, okay, this is how you start. You have to, pick a plan, a silver, gold, or platinum that I have. This is, and I explain. Then you have
Right.
to.
I know, but I mean, what?
Then you have to.
What do you teach? I'm like, not what you sell them.
Oh no!
What do you teach them?
I teach them, if you want to start learning futures, you have to start learning the language that I teach. You have to learn the indicators on my charts. You have to start learning the terminology, the strategies. Then you go to paper trading. Then you go to
but I mean, okay, so just specifically, like, what is the first thing? Like, someone comes to you and says,
okay, first thing I need to know, if you want to trade futures, there are certain brokers that are good for you and certain brokers that are not good for you because of margin requirements.
Right.
You have a small account, these 4 or 5 brokers will fit your needs. These brokers are out of your league.
Have you seen like Ninjas, the margin at Ninjas, $50 for a micro?
Yeah, a lot of firms are like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then
trade stations like 500. E-Trade could be like 2,000.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, IB is like, yeah, crazy. It's like 2,000. I don't even know what it is, but
right. And so like then a mini is 500.
Yeah, on Ninja, that same thing, and it's like 12,000 at IB.
Yeah, and it's 12,000. I heard from at TD Ameritrade.
That's nuts. And then, but I mean, do we, someone shows up and says, I want to learn. What do you tell them? Do you tell them to, learn moving averages, learn?
No, I tell them that this is going to take time, that you're going to have to learn. You have to get the right setup. You have to have the right broker. You're going to have to learn my language. You're going to have to learn to have paper trade. You're going to have to learn how to scale in and scale out. You're going to have to learn on micros, and then from micros you go to the big ones. I have a phenomenal track record teaching.
No kidding. Yeah, I agree with you. But I mean, but you literally, we have, not me and you, but collectively, there must be millions of people who need to know how to learn.
Mm-hmm. And I'm willing to teach them all.
Oh, yeah, God, you are Mother Teresa of that. Charlie at Lucci was saying that it's much easier to teach people who have like a year of experience under their belt rather than taking them green off the street. Has that been your experience?
I don't know. I mean, I come across people all around the world. And I just think that it depends when I hear their voice, the passion that they have to want to learn. It doesn't make a difference if you're a newbie, someone who's traded for a year. If you just have them, you have to change your mindset. I always say this is like the major leagues here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You saved up enough money. You want to do this, want to change your life. You got to follow rules, discipline. You got to you know,
Flexibility, right? The ability, like like I'm asking you, are you a better buyer or seller? Like Paul is only a seller.
Yeah. Well,
I like, listen, there's nothing greater when you're long and they're rallying on you, you know, and when you're short and they drop, you know, but they like to catch them both ways. Today we must have did 40 trades on the S&P. It had to be 20 and 20.
I know. So, anyone want to make a prediction?
What, the midterms or for the market?
Yeah, any prediction.
I like to see them rally from here, make lower highs. I mean, I think September, October, they're going to crush them into the third week.
And then you thought a rally into the end of the year in 2023, it's over.
I think 2023, they're going to absolutely crush them.
Paul, what do you think? Is Paul there? Paul was there for a minute.
I don't, yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you, we can't see
Can you
you.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, we can't see you.
Oh, well,
No, sorry. I'm with you, Stephen. I'd love to see a rally here. I mean, come on, they've been hitting them so hard for 4 days.
They did obediently for, well, the 4 days, and then right when Powell opened his mouth and they went down 50, and then they rallied 30 or 40 and for just about a half a minute, and then they took him down.
And never saw the light of day. Stephen, Paul has a beautiful spread in the Dominican Republic. And so when you go to, instead of going to Florida one time, I would suggest that you stay in his pool house in the Dominican Republic. I'm sure he would have you
I
there.
got to stay in the pool house. I'll have to stay in his house.
No, it's a separate house. You get your own house.
Oh, I got my separate house.
It's a nice house. It's a house
I love
next.
Dominican. I was at Cap Cana. It was beautiful.
And yeah, I have yet to be there. I've been down the street in Cabaret. It's on the North Shore of the Dominican Republic. So everybody out who's watching, this is a Lucci broadcast, and we're very grateful for all the support from Lucci, and we hold them in high esteem. Steve is friends with Jay, Wall Street Jesus, and Charlie, the CEO, and everything is nice enough to have Stephen on, and we're all friends. And Stephen runs also a chat room in his own regards called Trade Easy, and he's bootstrapping it, so it's not a gigantic. It's a grow your own thing that Stephen's doing, and so he's got a big heart, and so it's not for everybody. Obviously, I've heard him throw people off. And but yeah, as you can see in the background, how many screens you have, Stephen?
39.
39 screens. And so for people who like to trade short term, I would suggest that you try and find Stephen, and it's at tradeeasy.com. And any parting words for new traders, Stephen?
Just ask questions, learn, make sure you find the right mentor, make sure you look in the mirror, see the type of trader that you want to be. If you want to eventually learn, one thing I don't like is when people say, oh my God, futures. I'm like, okay, if I tell you could trade water, does it calm things down more? I think, like when I wanted to ride a motorcycle, people say, go get a Suzuki, go get a Kawasaki. I'm like, I'm buying a Harley. Crazy. It's like when I bought a Harley, custom Swiftail. Then a year later, my son was born, I sold it, right? But the thing is that, like, I think for a lot of people who don't have enough money to intraday trade, or if they want to buy and hold, that's a different story. That's completely different depending on the age. But futures to me is, you don't have to worry about the PDT rule. You got great liquidity in the markets. And if you can master the art of trading futures, I mean, you just keep that in the back pocket, because one day you never know. I've really never worked for anybody in my entire life. In this business, but nothing greater than having financial independence and trading your own money and learning exactly and understanding exactly what's going on with the markets and studying and seeing how these strategies and these patterns repeat themselves.
To everybody watching, I was a employee of Victor Sprandio. He taught me for 2 years, 2.5 years, and is also considered Trader Vic. He's in Market Wizards too. Is also a friend of Steven's, and so
Good man.
yeah, Victor used to always tell us that we needed to remain in business. That was our #1 goal, was to be able to come to the table the next day, because in Victor's words, he would say, some days they're giving out $1,000 bills and you want to be there when they hand out $1,000 bills. So I'm very grateful for the lessons I got from Victor, and coincidentally to find out that Stephen was friends with him is a nice bonus. So Victor, if you're watching, we both say hello. Thank you for the lessons. Paul, thank you for coming. If you're there, can you hear us, Paul? I know he's muted. And so go visit Steve at Trade Easy. He has a big heart, but he can be tough on you if you go there. So not that tough. That, I think, any parting words, Stephen?
No, just trade them. You know, don't use your stops. You know, you can't. You know, I always tell people you can't drive a car without having brakes in the car, right? Don't take your loan. And on Friday, I'm getting on a plane heading back home from my couple-day vacation, and I hear a story, a guy getting slaughtered because he's didn't put stop orders in.
You also had a friend, didn't you have a friend just die?
Yeah, and then I land Friday night, and 52-year-old friend, I got a text, and he hear Robert just passed away. I'm like, what? I just spoke to him 3 days ago.
So, right.
So you got to enjoy your life and don't put added stress on yourself. And,
you know, when we
got to trade with stops, man, you can't. I've never seen, you know, that's one thing about me though, I have to say, you know, like I maintain a very disciplined life, and in trading, and because I took the athleticism that I had when I went to play Major League Baseball into trading. But I can't understand how anybody can trade without stop orders. And you just like getting in a car with no brakes on. You know, it's like, why would you be that self-destructive? And then I hear a story on Friday that if I told you the story, you would just completely fall off your chair. And I can't. But the thing is that it just ripped me to shreds the whole weekend. And when I called the person to say, like, what were you thinking? The trend is down. Everything I have is showing you down, right? The algorithms are saying down, and you're buying them all the way down. Why? Oh, I thought they were going to bounce. Okay, did you have stops in place? No. I just don't understand it. It just racks my brain, really.
I heard you say today how much you love the game.
Oh, I love this game.
Right. And I think maybe
years, I still love it. 40 years. Can you believe it? I love it. 40 years. I couldn't even think of what I would do in my life if it wasn't for this.
And
I told
so,
Steve Cohen one time, I said to Steve, I said, go retire. This was before he became 17.4 billion. This is when it was low, maybe low billion. He said, go hit golf balls in the ocean until your hands bleed. And he says to me, I don't know what to do with myself. I can't do anything else but this.
Right. You got to assume Paul Jones and right, Stevie Cohen. I mean, I hear you say how much you love it. And there is definitely that thrill.
Well, when you come this far, you don't know what else to do in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I going to do? I went before I came to Wall Street. I went to become a mortgage broker. The guy handed me a calculator. I went 1 + 1. He came up with 14,612. I said, the calculator is broken, needs a battery. He goes, what'd you do? I said, I hit 1 + 1. He goes, this is an amortization calculator. I handed it back. I went in the car, listened to Howard Stern for 3 hours. I drove home. That's what I did. It's a true story. I think I'm going to figure out an amortization calculator. Get the freak out of here. Here's your calculator back.
Their business is slow. Anyway, I love that you love it, right? And that you say that you love it, right?
I love helping people. I love helping people change their lives. Nothing's greater than me helping people put them on the right track and what Trade Easy does, and all the people who are associated here, you know, Ashling, Joe, myself, and then, you know, helping people really change their lives, you know, and getting them situated. And
You know, the people,
$500 a day, it's $125,000 a year. That doesn't suck.
you know, yeah, no, it's, I've said the same thing when Goldman asked me to work for them. And I said, yeah, right, as long as we don't bury people. And they were like, Goldman's response was, yeah, that's what this business is, people helping people. It's sarcastically, they said that to me.
Yeah, well, I mean it though.
Yeah, I know you mean it, I know, but there's going to be people sarcastically going. So we've heard it on both sides, people, and Stephen's real. So it's rare to find somebody like that. And you find everybody at Lucci, same Ranch and Jesus and all those guys who are also very real, and Paul as well. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Paul, good to hear from you, Paul. He's muted.
I think he's muted. Okay, everybody, thank you. That's August 31st, 2022. Again, the S&P's at the lows, and yeah, we're not tinfoil wearing conspiracists. We're just think we could do it better, I guess, is the answer. And nice haircut, Stephen. You look good.
I lost my tan.
All right, everybody. Talk to you later. See you, Stephen.
Take care, Chris. Have a great night. Thanks,
Yep,
Chris.
bye.
Bye-bye.